Welcome to the Architecture of the Soul, a space where we explore the energetic design behind who you are and the work you're here to do. Through astrology, human design, and gene keys, we uncover the deeper blueprint guiding each of us towards alignment, purpose, and meaningful work. In each episode, I sit with healers, leaders, and changemakers to decode their design and trace the path that brought their purpose to life. This is where your design meets your story, and alignment becomes a way of being. Let's step into the architecture of your soul. Welcome to the Architecture of the Soul podcast. I am your host, Jennifer Klein, and today my guest is Rosie Cataldo with Consult Rosie, and she is a trauma-informed healing practitioner and a counter-human trafficking consultant. So thank you so much, Rosie, for being here today.
Thank you for having me, Jennifer.
Yes, this is going to be super fun. So, of course, I have a snapshot of your energy here that we're going to talk about today, but also I know you. And so there's just some unique things when I first met you. And then we see that in the work that you do in the world and also in kind of your energetic blueprint. So this is very fun for me. So I just want you to start by just telling everybody who you are, a little bit of who you are and like what kind of work you're doing and what your dreams and passions are.
Okay. Well, this is exciting. Thank you. Who am I? I guess if we're not talking about titles, I am a solution seeker and like you recognize patterns and disrupt some of them. And I work in polarities. So yes, I'm a counter-human trafficking consultant, and I also consult with a local therapeutic clinic, and I do some basically like triage. If people need some assistance, they're coming out of systems of organized violence, I help in a variety of ways. And then I also do body work. So I've been trained on specific modalities to help with complex trauma, which is very different from a one-time trauma.
Can you just quickly explain that too, just for people? Because, yeah, trauma is labeled in different ways, and some people are aware of that. So just what's the difference between those two?
So complex trauma or complex PTSD would be a series of disruptive events. So disrupting your safety and disrupting the nervous system, and all trauma gets stored in the body. So it's a tremendous misnomer that if, let's say, something happens to a child, that they don't remember. So even though an individual who's a trauma survivor, their memory might be fuzzy, or they might have blocked out a traumatic incident or incidents, it is stored in the body. So
The body remembers.
Sorry?
The body remembers.
Yes, body keeps the score.
The
Absolutely.
score, yes, all the time.
So talk therapy can be wonderfully healing for many people, and it definitely has its place and serves its purpose. And then also for some people, it can be very traumatic to talk about all the bad things that happened. It can reignite a trauma loop and really propel a person backwards instead of forward on their healing path. So there are different alternatives like, the wonderful fascia maneuvers that Human Garage shares. And then there's energy work that can be done. There's nervous system regulation. So I practice a few different modalities that help bring back safety, calm, regulation to the body. Because that's like trauma 101 is let's restore the nervous system so you feel safe. So then you can think more clearly. You can take steps to taking your life back.
Right. Yeah, because people who have been through any kind of trauma, but the two different kinds we're talking about too, we can learn to disassociate is the word in the psychology world, right? And really it's disconnecting from your body. And so you can live like that your whole life for years and you don't even know it. It's a survival. Your body's trying to get through things, right? And survive. You mentioned, we know each other through Human Garage because Human Garage really, oh, yes, it's fascial maneuvers, but it's really teaching you how to get back into your body and
Mhm.
feel these things that sometimes we don't want to feel. So we try to disconnect. And so I have experienced just even in my family watching other people disassociate, but specifically with substances. So there's
Mhm.
many ways, right, we can kind of disconnect from the body.
Absolutely.
And so whether it's fascial maneuvers or the different types of work that Rosie does with people, the goal is always to regulate the nervous system and coming back into the body, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So it is very needed work in the world. And it, as we see, especially on social media, it's like growing more and more, like people writing books, they're doing more research on, and even just recently I heard kind of this discussion between people about the brain versus the body. That's kind
Mm.
of going around of people like, where's this trauma or where's this stuff you didn't process? Where is it stored? And so
Mhm.
we go back and forth between which is it? And I'm sure you and I will probably agree that it's all of it. That's why we
Yeah.
call holistic health or the whole body is what we're always looking at. Like, picking it apart is interesting with research, but sometimes it's when you don't have the whole, you don't have the whole picture either of how it works
Right.
together. So yes. So anything else you want to add about any things that are you love in the work that you do or what maybe drew you to do some of
Uh,
this?
yes. So human trafficking or exploitation is not my personal story, but it is very personal to me. It hit close to home and really was disorient. It was disorientating, just really shook me up. And I had some awareness of what human trafficking was. And we had a Super Bowl in our area in Minneapolis, and there was a lot of awareness going on about around that. I just had no idea the market for children. And so that really, I'm a mom, you're a mom. We, if we can't protect our children and collectively protect youth, I feel like that's a system failure all around. So just really dove into ways that I could help with that shift. So I've done a few different pieces in the anti exploitation space because of what had erupted in my community, what I saw in my community, and what was very disturbing to me. And so I've done abuse prevention in schools. I've worked with some different nonprofits. I've taken lots of different trainings, but in the process, I learned of a modality that was significant in helping kids who are coming out of trafficking. And there was a wonderful modality I was taught by a human trafficking pioneer that involves tapping at the heart space. And I began practicing that and just kind of doing litmus tests with people and seeing really incredible results. And I was first practicing on people I knew, and let's say they were struggling with anxiety or depression, that was lifting. And then I began to practice on people I didn't know because I was shocked at what I was seeing and pleasantly surprised. And I thought, well, these people have a rapport with me. I want to practice on people with people who I don't know. And so I began my own little case study. And
Pyramid.
yes, so practicing on a variety of people and just seeing incredible shifts, like people who have been through torture situations, people, genocide survivors, people who have come out of war torn areas, just the most prevalent issue of people in those spaces would be sleep. They're not able to sleep. So having a session or two with people, just simply tapping at the heart space, identifying a feeling that you want to shift or release, and walking them through that process, holding space for them and setting an intention for the session, I saw some dramatic shifts in people. So I would check up on the client in a few days and they would say, "Yep, I slept through the night and I haven't slept through the night in 10 years," or "I slept, 6 hours. I haven't done that in, 5 years." So just beautiful, beautiful shifts in people. So, and then that's how it started. Just
Yeah.
one simple modality and seeing incredible results and uh, yeah, just really, we're supposed to act on our passion, right, in the world and do what really lights us up. And I thought, wow, this is it. This is what I'm supposed to be doing in this chapter of my life.
Yeah, that is so amazing. And that you felt so connected too to this. Sometimes we can try a million we can take a different courses, people can work on us, but you connect sometimes with something I believe that you're meant to then do. And
Hmm.
that's kind of what happened with you. And you're like, okay, now I got to try this on other people.
Yes.
This is really
Yeah.
amazing.
Almost in disbelief. Like
Right. Did
it
this
would,
really work as good as I think it did? Yeah.
yes. I was like, huh, well, you know me. You're comfortable around me. I got to go practice over here.
Yeah. Yeah. Fascinating. Well, and I don't know if I ever told you this, but so my first kind of introduction to human trafficking was in my later 20s into my 30s for 10 years, I led mission trips in Haiti. And so once a year I would go. And as the years went on, obviously I'm immersed in the culture, but I started learning um, about things that were going on with these people that we were working with and with the human trafficking. And I was blown away. And it just, sometimes it's just all around you and you don't see it um, until someone like points it out, which that's with a lot of things, I think, in the world. So someone's like, happening right under your nose and you don't know it, but it really impacted me. And then from then on, just knowing that, yeah, it's happening everywhere. And you just said we're both from Minnesota. So right here, just in Minneapolis and Minnesota, it's happening.
It is.
And so not everybody's meant to fight the fight, as we say. And we'll talk about, Rosie probably is, but the awareness of
Mhm.
anything is
Right.
key. And what is it, that we can do to help or have a podcast or whatever, just talk with our neighbors and for people to even just be
Mhm.
aware of it.
Right. I'd say, I mean, it is the fastest growing criminal enterprise worldwide. There's a new study that came out from NASDAQ, and it's a $528.5 billion industry globally. And sadly, the US is the number one demand for sex buying, and the US also has the most URLs for what's called CSAM, child sexual abuse material.
Mm,
So the sad part is that it's such a minority of people doing the majority of the damage, causing the majority of the damage. And we can flip that. We can flip the script. So I'd say just brush up, take a course, check out a local nonprofit. Here locally, we have Storyteller Cafe, which does incredible work. They're in Blaine and they do a lot of awareness events. But I'd say the two most common ways that people are tricked into trust or exploited would be number one, through the fake promise of romance. And number two is the a deceptive job offer.
mm,
So it doesn't matter your demographic. It doesn't matter if you come from a secure family or if you have food insecurities or housing insecurities. It really
right.
there you don't have to be, have different vulnerabilities to make you susceptible to this because the people who are involved are extremely sophisticated at these schemes and just masterful manipulators. So I guess the best thing you can do as a parent is to talk to your kids about being tricked. Like, what does a tricky person look like? What is comfortable? is not comfortable behavior? How do people get kind of in your inner circle and maybe too quickly, too fast? So pieces like that. And
Yeah.
these are ancient crimes. They go way, 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 way back since the dawn of time. Unfortunately, in our digitized age, they've just exploded and morphed. So
Yeah.
there are just, the majority of people are truly good and want what's best for you and want you to be safe.
Right.
So,
Yeah. And currently you've been working on a documentary, correct?
yes, yes. So, in this space, what I found is that people don't want to talk about this topic because it's not pretty. It can be really dark and there are different, layers to it.
Mhm.
But in the work, I've met such remarkable people, from trauma specialists to investigators, social workers, just parents who are doing everything they can, to help recover their child. And so, because of these remarkable and inspiring people, at the top of that list would be people who have survived the unthinkable. They've incredibly inspiring to me. So, because not a lot of people would ask me questions about this arena, I thought, wow, we need to make this digestible topic and keep people in their window of tolerance. And so, yes, working on a documentary, and it's all about solutions. So it's the trifecta is sharing survivor stories and sharing these incredible high-tech solutions to help find missing, exploited, and trafficked people. And then, of course, addressing trauma and sharing simple modalities for people to help alleviate and discharge trauma from the body. Because if we had more tools readily available to people, we wouldn't have people who want to buy and sell other humans. It's just because
Right.
everyone's acting from their wound, whether you're an exploiter,
Right.
whether you're a buyer, or not always, but in some cases, yes, being vulnerable to being tricked.
Yeah.
So that's what it's all about. So solutions. So, and at the end, when it's finished, it'll be edited appropriately and gifted to schools for prevention purposes, to talk about
Oh,
what does a healthy relationship look like? How to navigate dating, how to navigate finding a job, even as a young adult. You really have to do your homework and, sadly, but importantly, be your own private investigator when you're
right.
doing your research, when you're wanting to find ethical job that suits you.
Well, thank you so much for doing that project in the world and all the other work that you're doing. It's like I said, when we get into your charts, it's going to make sense why you feel so passionate about this and that you want other people to understand and see what's happening. You want people to be safe. We one first want to have autonomy and be safe in our own body and regulate our nervous system, and then there's this outward environment that we don't have a lot of control of, but the knowledge definitely helps us, right?
Mhm.
Have that protection and boundaries. So,
Indeed, it
yeah.
does.
So, we get to look into your charts now. Are you ready
Cool. Yes.
to dive right in?
Yes. It's always fascinating having conversations with you about this.
Well, good. I'm glad that you think it's interesting. Of course, I think it's interesting. So we're talking about it. But yeah, even just the pattern of what people are doing or what they're about to venture into. And it's like kind of, as we say, like written in the stars, right? It's in your energetic blueprint. And I just think that's so fascinating because so many people are trying to find that. And so my hope is that just through these talks that people will try to find you know, their purpose in the world and what they're supposed to be doing because we're not supposed to all do the same thing.
Right. Yes.
um, like I
Different.
love the work that you're doing, and you know, I I like to be part of it and help however I can, but I also know that I gotta also stay in my lane with some of the things that I do, and that's how I'm going to help. As we
Mhm.
say, the collective.
Well, you are, Jennifer. Like, to be honest, just being an active and engaged parent is the best thing that you can do in the world, because then you've got kids who know they have people backing them who love them and support them, and then
Yeah.
they can grow up and be self-actualized humans. So you're doing it. You're already doing it.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that. Okay, so we're going to start with we're looking at three things today. We're looking at astrology, your human design, and your gene key charts. Um, and I quickly always just describe a little bit about, astrology really is looking at all the patterns energetically that you're kind of imprinted with at birth. And then your human design is showing your energy mechanics and how it works and how you work with others. And then your gene keys is really your specific gifting in the world and really just, yeah, moving through kind of like our shadows and our traumas and really integrating into the nervous system this groundedness. And we find that through learning about our gene keys. So we're going to start with your astrology. Yay! This is so fun. Okay, so when we start with your big three in astrology, so sun, moon, and rising, or your ascendant. And so your sun, you are an Aquarius. So
Yes.
I say this a lot to Rosie. She knows it's coming, so she's already laughing that Aquariuses are weirdos. And I say
Probably
that with
where that.
all the love in my heart. My dad was an Aquarius, a little more weird, eccentric, different, only because they are out of all the energies of the zodiac sign, they're the most detached from humanity. So they're up here kind of at a 10,000-foot view, kind of watching the world and like how they want to be part of it. And sometimes it's easy for them to be part of it. And sometimes they're like, I want to get in there. Um, so I love Aquariuses, but yes, they can feel weird just because we're all unique, but they're unique because they are a step away from most humans. I guess that's the best way I can say it.
I own that. I own that, Jennifer.
You own that? Oh, good. Okay, so in Aquarius energy is air, so air energy. And so air energy is all about communication, thinking. So that's a lot of air energy. And Aquarius specifically is I belong. So it's about belonging. It's about you wanting to feel like you belong in whatever sense that is in your home, in your community, with one on one with someone, but also wanting other people to feel like they belong. And that's the humanitarian part, which we'll talk about. She's laughing because she knows. So she reached out to me and connected with me just through, again, it was through Human Garage. She was asking me kind of about it. And that's kind of how we got connected. So yeah, it's just fascinating how like and ever since I've kind of got to know you, your ability to network is phenomenal. Like I mean, we all can do that, but you just naturally, because I just think you just want everybody to belong, and you're just like, oh, this I want to talk to this woman, and I want her to belong, and I'm gonna like I really that's how I felt when you're like we've always known each other, kind of a feeling, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's the Aquarius energy, and then so we're going to talk about the degrees. So when I'm talking about degrees, I'm talking about them energetically in a way that Chris Witecki taught this
Yes.
step system.
Yes.
And so it's a little different than like most astrologers. But so you have a 3 degree. So 3 is Sagittarius energy. So it's I believe. So you have I believe with I belong. So belief is really, really big. I'm assuming that you feel that in your life. So that whatever you believe in it strongly. And so it kind of goes along with that belonging, like believing in something so you can belong to it. Now okay, I'm not going to do this until I really believe in it. And now I believe in it and I'm going to belong in it.
Yes. Very spot on.
Yeah. So that's again, so 70% of your energy is your sun sign. So that's a lot of who you are. So then we're going to look at your moon. So your moon is your emotions or how you emote in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so what do you know? It's Aquarius as well. So Aquarius energy, that's again the belonging energy. And then we have a 5 degree. So 5 degree is Gemini energy. Gemini is another air sign. So now we have 2 air signs together. And Gemini is about very intellectual. It's about thinking, being in the mind. So it's I think, I belong. So when it comes to your emotions or emoting with people, sometimes you think more about your emotions versus then I'm not saying that we all have emotions, we all feel emotions, but just in connecting with people, thinking more about your emotions maybe before if you belong, maybe you're going to share them, but if you don't feel like you belong, you're just kind of like, maybe I'm not
Uh-huh.
going to, I'm not going to share that with you quite yet. And
Yes.
then vice versa, like feeling that with other people that maybe you can kind of feel how, you know, they're feeling, but
Oh, yes. Yes.
you're thinking about it, but you're not saying like, oh yeah, you feel,
It depends if I'm in session with someone or not.
someone, that's different. Yeah,
Yes, yes,
definitely.
because absolutely pick up
Yeah.
on I mean, as an intuitive and an empath,
Yeah.
yes, but I wanna have permission before going there, so but of course, we pick up on people's energy just walking by them, right?
Right.
Just having a short conversation, we can pick up on a lot.
Right. Yeah, so out of all the signs, there were a couple that people would say if this was your moon, Aquarius is one of them, there feels like or seems like they're a little more detached from their emotions.
Okay.
Again, doesn't mean they don't have emotions, doesn't mean they're not feeling something, but they're not outwardly really, they're pretty like I don't have any emotions. I'm good. like I'm, you know, and again, it's just this a little bit being a little more disconnected from humanity.
Mm,
So a little more stoic in their how they are presenting emotionally. So that can very much be Aquarius energy in
yes.
your moon.
Yeah, reading the room and knowing
Right.
who I can talk to certain things about and
Right.
you know, who I need to compartmentalize with, which
Right.
is,
And some people are all, you know, "Ah," not in a bad way, but like they're just really comfortable, like with sharing their emotions. I feel they're crying while and you would again take it in and feel it, but you'd be a little bit more like, like,
yes, so
um,
very true.
yeah. So, so that's a little bit about the moon, and then we have our ascendant, otherwise also known as the rising. This is interesting, is Aries. So Aries is fire energy, and it's all about acting. So it's that warrior. I act, all action oriented, and then you have an 8 degree. So 8 degree is Capricorn. And so Capricorn is I decide. So I decide and I act. So outwardly in the world, so how a lot of people will perceive you. So this is part of you, but this is probably in your work and family and how people know you is, you're all I'm going to get stuff done. I have this action, I want to get stuff done and really good decision making. Like, I'm going to decide I'm going to do it. I'm going to decide I'm going to do it. I'm going to decide I'm going to do it. And then people who can't decide and do it are just like, oh my God, it's this lady, like, and it's because it's part of you, even though you have the Aquarius. So you have this little, this dynamic between who you, as I say, your real identity is this real Aquarian air sign, but then having a little bit more grounded 'cause, Capricorn is earth, so a little grounded fire in you that people will see.
Yeah. Yes, I feel that, absolutely, I have to yeah, if I didn't have that, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. I'm not a rule follower.
You're not a rule follower. Ooh,
No,
yes, that is an Aquarian trait.
I'm not a rule follower.
Yep,
Because if I was, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing.
right, exactly. So that's your big 3, and then I'm gonna point out that you have a stellium, and so a stellium in your chart means that you have 3 or more planets in a sign, and so this is a lot. You got 5. You got 5 in Aquarius. I mentioned to this the other day, and she's like, "What does that mean?" And I was like, "You're an expert humanitarian." Like that's just so much Aquarian energy that is, you know, a lot of who you are.
Mhm. Yeah.
Is this all this air and just yes, I want to do good works in the world, very humanitarian. So that's how I would categorize that. And so we then look at like the elements.
Okay.
So we have fire, air, earth, and water is
Mhm.
the different elements that can be in our chart. And so, okay, you think 5 is a lot for a stellium. She
Mhm.
got 8 in the air element. So when I'm saying she's airy, which equals weird, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. When I'm saying she's airy, I mean she's got a lot of air
Oh.
element. I mean, 8 different placements. That's a lot. Okay. And so that's and 2 of those are the luminaries. That's the sun and the moon, and then
Okay.
the rest are planets, but that's 8. And then
So
the next one
that's not
down,
common that having 8 planets in an air element
I
is
mean,
not.
people have a very strong dominant, but I mean, for me, I mean, I have never seen someone with that much in one area. So very strong air. The next would be fire. So you have one planet in fire, but your rising is also a fire sign, having that Aries. So I would say then fire would be next. So that's our drive and our passion, teaching. Um, and then the third would be would be Earth. Mars is what is in your Earth element. So it's only the one Earth, and you have 0 in water.
Which is so interesting as an Aquarian in the age of
I know a
Aquarius.
lot of Aquarians think that because it sounds like water. Aquarian sounds like aqua, like water.
Mhm.
And it's not a water sign. But it would be Aquarians that would want to say that they're water signs because that would mean you're more towards the earth instead of.
So that's why I'm attracted to the water.
Yeah, so this is your imprinted when you were born. So we adapt over time to be like knowing that you need it. Not everybody. If you're not in alignment, then you're always desperately seeking water energy and
Okay.
earth energy because your earth energy is pretty low. Um, so maybe you did a lot of things outside, so you got a lot of earth energy. You like to go to the lake. You take a
Mhm.
lot of baths or showers or water just becomes a bigger part of who
Mm.
you are. And
Yes.
food, so different foods are different elements. So
Mhm.
eating more of foods in water, earth element, you may do that as well. So
I love watermelon
she loves watermelon.
and cucumber.
Yeah. And we see it in relationships. So it's fun to look back into your life and see, like, when I was a kid to when I was a teenager, like relationships, like really close friends, boyfriends, girlfriends, all these different things they've had in your life. Your parents, of course, there's going to be some people from your past you don't know their birthday.
Mhm.
But if you do, you can see what kind of energies you're attracting to your field, is what we
Mhm.
call it, probably to help you in some way.
Mhm.
Or as you go on in life, you're like, oh, seeking out things that you don't know that you're being attracted to. And maybe earth and water signs have been coming more into your view now or at certain times. Like they can cycle, just depends when it's needed. Because really, all it is we're talking about balance. So we want balance.
Mhm.
So it's great that you can have strength and you can do things in the world or in your own life, right? Having a strong energy in this area,
Mhm.
but it's this having this balance. So we are seeking out relationships, food, actual earth things around our environment to balance. Yes. And so she has, she looks like an agate. Is that what it is? An
Yes.
agate rock there. That's her earth. And yeah, all of a sudden you can start looking around. So, so I relate as far as I have 0 earth. And not only do I have 0 earth, but that's also my wounding is earth. As my
Okay.
Chiron is in that. So if you were in my room here, you would see I have like tons of plants. So
Mhm.
tons of plants are really important for me. Um, I've always been like growing up, I was a very outdoor person. Like I wouldn't even be inside. And then it's like, come in, you need to come home now. 'Cause I would be outside all day long. And whatever. I was an athlete in sports, but some of my sports were, you know, outdoor type sports. So it is interesting to just think about, yeah. And I love earth signs. Like they're just I love everyone, but like they're just so grounding to me because I just desire it. If I'm not getting it, I definitely desire it. And earth foods. Yeah, so it's very interesting.
You're obsessed with sweet potatoes. I know that.
I do love sweet potatoes. They are delicious.
No, they're very grounding if you need
They are
ground.
very grounding. I
Yeah,
agree.
very healthy.
So I'm just going to quick point out one other thing or two other things here in astrology so we can move on to your human design. But so when we look at like the circle diagram in astrology, we can kind of, this is the horizon going like this. And then we can put another north and south kind of thing. And so where your stuff is on this circle kind of tells us things as well. So most of your planets are on the north or on top. So we call those conscious. So most of the energy you're aware of and you're conscious in your life. And then so you have about 7. And then 3, we would say are unconscious.
Okay.
So usually that those need to come up more to the surface. So you're learning them throughout your life. And I have a lot of like mine are all conscious. So like we'd be similar in that way of kind of understanding and knowing most of our life, these things, we see them. Um, so that's always fun to look at. And then you have so north, most of them that are in the north represent the outer. So you express your purpose in the world. Okay. So that's what all that energy represents. And then east versus west side, you have most on the east, which this would be the same for me as well, which is about self. So I initiate as my authentic design. So your energy really of being here is expressing your purpose in the world, initiating as your authentic design.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Feel that.
Where some people, so that would be the opposite of this, would be it's all inner.
Mm,
So rooting safety and vitality, very inner
uh-huh,
grounding work,
uh-huh.
and then evolving through relationships. So the other person and the relationships they have is really why they're here. And so I think it's really pivotal to learn these little things to, again, it's a zoom out kind of perspective of looking at a chart. But and then I'll just point out that I'm not going to go through all the houses. I'm going to give you a printout so you can read more of these, but I'm just going to show everybody if they can kind of see your chart. See, look at all this and right here. See all that? That's a lot. Again, a lot in one house, but we know that you have a 5-planet stellium in Aquarius. So that's all the stuff that's in that Aquarius. And so that's house 11. And house 11 represents friendship and community.
Huh.
And it's all, like we said, it's represented by, so that's Aquarius energy. And so from what I know of you, friendship, like networking and friendship is very important to you, I can tell. So is community. Being in community, but like helping the community. And that's all that humanitarian type energy as well. So very fun.
It's fascinating. It's like you're speaking a different language, but
You're like,
thank you for translating. I love it. Yeah, that's really cool.
and then I'll just note your Chiron. So Chiron is our soul's wounding, and it's just like an underlying wound that you've maybe felt throughout your life. Maybe you've
Uh-huh.
felt it stronger at a certain period, or you always feel it kind of underlying. And then when we get to be about 50 is called our Chiron return. And usually at that point is when you're just like, okay, it's not like it's maybe still there, but it's not affecting me like it used to.
Uh-huh.
Now, it doesn't mean that earlier before 50 that it started not to affect you anymore. So it just depends. But yours is in Aries, 16-degree Aries. So a collective and individual journey to heal the wound of identity.
Wound of identity.
So
Okay.
having this feeling of a collective and individual journey to heal the wound of identity. So it's a deep-seated insecurity regarding one's right to exist in the world, take up space in the world, or be assertive.
Ah.
And so I don't know if and again, maybe you don't feel that at all right now, but maybe it's certain times and you're like when you're a little kid or when you're a teenager or when you're just becoming a young adult, or
Mhm.
midlife or whatever.
Yeah, I don't feel that now as an adult, but yes, I can see as a as like a preteen. Yes, I can see that, and
Yeah.
yeah.
And sometimes if you some people are just really aligned. They're born, they're aligned. People in the world don't conform. They don't that's very much you. So I can see that you probably weren't affected by your wound like some people are. But I still think there's little inklings that it's there. And so for you it may be more of that,
Well, they say we create what we needed,
right?
and so I feel that there isn't a person I've come across in this life who doesn't need a form of healing. And so it's, stepping into, okay, this is what I'm meant to be doing in this chapter of my life. And yes, absolutely. This would have been incredible, when I was younger. But um it's, this I've always been fascinated with healing, and the seed was planted when I was a kid because of a family member had an injury, and my parents searched for healing in many different ways. I grew up Catholic, and which now I don't care what religion or spirituality you practice as long as you're not hurting kids. But I think the seed was planted long ago, and I was exposed to so many different types of healing services. I saw people speaking in tongues, witnessed a variety of types of healing. So it was planted long ago.
Right.
And then learning about some really heavy issues, not only did they show up in my community, but they exist on a global scale regarding exploitation. And so really doing some searching, and I have a relationship with something bigger than me. You can call it God, creator, universe, source, whatever you want to call it. It's all the same to me. But really asking for guidance and assistance when this huge glaring issue came at me like a tidal wave. And again, it not being my personal story, but seeing it up close and personally,
Mm.
yeah, very jarring. So, the deeper you go on one side, we have the shadow and the light. We have both in our being and our essence.
Right.
And so the deeper you go on one side, the deeper you see, then it allows you to also go that deep on the other side. So seeing
Right.
some heavy things and then really doing some
Yeah.
soul searching, reflecting, private conversations with God, the creator, the divine, and
Yeah.
asking, okay, what do I do with this? And the people who showed up in my life, incredible, miraculous. And so knowing about some really heavy things, and because of that, I get to have a front row seat to miraculous shifts in people's lives. That it's a co-creation. We're moving past a time where someone is going to a healer and heal me, fix me.
Right.
That's not what we're stepping into. What we're stepping into is a co-creative, uh, what I offer isn't for everyone because the person has to be open, curious, ready to shift. And so once they are at a place where they are open, then these incredible transformations can occur. So it's really, yes, it's been a journey, and I've learned things that I never asked to learn, but clearly, you and I hold the belief that we design our lives and pieces of those pieces of our lives to really, um, to use our experiences to grow as a soul, right? And
Right.
grow, change. We're not here to stay the same. If you are growing and transforming and expanding, and you are with people who have zero interest in that, that's a clash, right?
Yeah.
Many different, I'm sure the many different, opposite gene keys, different human design traits clashing, and
Yeah.
you know a lot more about that than I do. But ultimately, when we see something and it doesn't sit well with us, and it's like that's not okay. And when you can really tap in and ask for guidance and help, wow,
Yeah.
just wow. The pieces that unfold are just truly incredible.
Yeah. Well, I'm just going to point out here that before I move to human design, that our soul's wounding or any wounding that we have can be our gift or will become our gift for most people.
Mhm.
And so it's not a bad thing. The shadow
Right.
is not a bad thing. Our wounding is not a bad thing. It is to learn what we need to learn to evolve to a better person, right? And so that it becomes our gift and we could help others.
Mhm.
So that's the fascinating part.
Right. And one piece I would like to add on regarding co-creative healing, it's for people to remember that they do have all that they need within them to heal. And
Right.
yes, at times you benefit from the support of someone else walking alongside you for a time, but
Yeah.
those people are there to remind you, um, and assist, but remind you of what you already have innately inside of you.
Yeah. Yeah. That is key.
Mhm.
The key wisdom is within us all that we need in this life,
So true.
which moves us into human design. So, human design, again, is this energy mechanics of how our energy works. So, we're similar as we're both generators. 70% of the world are these generators, energizer bunnies. A portion of that 70 are manifesting generators. But so yeah, it's all sacral energy down here, which means we're just, yeah, it's like an engine, just always going, that kind of stuff. So we have that in common. Your defined areas, this is always kind of interesting to look at, is your sacral. So sacral, your root, your spleen, and your solar plexus. So we'll just show everybody so they can kind of see here. So it's all the bottom. So it's sacral and down, like
Mhm.
bottom half energy. And then, so above that, all of this is what we say are opened. You're being influenced by people around you, your environment, where you're very grounded and stable. And so I know that very much of you is you're very grounded. Now, anyone can become ungrounded with stress and things that they're going through. So it's not that you can't, but that you naturally have this defined energy that's always there. Okay. Um, now, your authority. So, your authority is how we best make decisions with who we are and our energy. So, this is where we're a little different. So, I'm called sacral authority. So, I have a yes and no in my body pretty quickly that I will feel it in my body. And for you, you're emotionally defined. So, you have this emotional authority, right? You looked like maybe that I said that wrong, right?
No,
You were emotionally defined. I was like, I better double check.
no. Just
So,
thinking.
yeah, so emotionally defined just means that these people have higher waves, so higher highs, lower lows of emotions. Not always that it's shown outwardly, like internally, you can just feel these really high highs and low lows. But when it comes to decision making, just that you need to emotionally be in a neutral state, right? So you don't want to make a decision in a high or in a low. You
Mhm.
need to be neutral. Where my emotions don't play part in my decision making. So that it's just a different thing. So you really have to pay attention um to your emotions and how you're feeling about
Yes, yes. Just
yeah,
like you don't go to the grocery store when you're, like, super, super hungry.
Oh my gosh, and then you buy all this stuff. Why I bought stuff? And I bought stuff I shouldn't eat.
Oh, yes. You wanna be in a neutral state when you're making especially important decisions. Absolutely.
So, yes, so that's your emotional authority. And then we have like a personality. I call it the personality of our energy. And so you're a 2-4, and I'm a 2-4 as well. A 2-4, the 2 is a hermit, the 4 is an opportunist. So just means that we need time, introspective time alone by ourselves. Leave me alone. I'm gonna be hermit for a while. And then when we come out of that, we're like, oh yeah, we're out. We're all the opportunities, we're networking, we're like, want to be with people, so fun. And then eventually, and we can do that for a while. We're generators, so we could do that for a long time. But eventually we do need to go back and hermit. And this is
Yeah.
where we're processing what we need to process.
Yeah.
So that is a 2-4.
Processing and try not to overthink.
I try not to overthink.
Yeah.
And then the last thing with the human design that I'm going to point out is your spidey sense.
Ooh,
So it's
yeah.
called your cognition in human design. And so your spidey sense is smell.
Yes, that's fascinating. It's fascinating.
And so maybe, some people, will read it or it's like, oh yeah, I can see that. And then some people are just like it really is your heightened sense and you're using it and maybe you're not even aware that that's because it's a part of your intuition is sensory
Mhm.
intuition. And so that's what we're talking about. So
Yes.
it's and it's very primal. So it's this intuitive primal filter that
Mhm.
is through the nose, like sniffing things out. Like, is this right or wrong, or should I do this? A lot of it, the sensory of your environment is coming in through your smell.
Yes. Part bloodhound.
Part bloodhound.
So funny because my dog has, like, the best sniffer ever, and we're, like, kindred spirits, so and can I share something about that?
Yeah.
So, when you told me that, I was fascinated because, like, I don't think this is super unique, but my intuitive senses really shifted after my dad passed away in 2005. So when he transitioned, I the first I get lots of beautiful signs from him that he's around, and so of my children, and from songs that come on when no one turned on the radio, to playing with lights, to dreams. But the first communication I received from him when I was asking him for some guidance shortly after he passed away, just having a conversation in my mind with him. I was driving what was his car, and the whole car filled with incense. And I went to Catholic grade school for 8 years, so I know what incense smells like. And
Right.
so it's
Very pungent.
fascinating when you told me that because I thought, wow, that was one of the first ways, one of my clear senses that opened up big time.
Wow.
So it was
That's
very cool. And
super
a
cool.
lot of
And
people,
when was your dad's birthday? What is the sign?
so December 14th.
Ooh, Sag. So
Yeah.
it's a little fire. Yeah.
Yes. Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So,
really cool.
and and again, a lot of people when they've lost a loved one, or excuse me, when a loved one has transitioned, because the soul never dies, the soul's eternal. And so if you're open, the beautiful signs and communications, are there for you if you choose and if you ask. So long ago, I would only speak in certain circles about this because I didn't want to be judged.
Aquarius not wanting to be judged. That's interesting.
And now, everyone has their opinion and they're welcome to their opinion, of course. But
Of course.
this is my experience. No one can take my experiences from me.
Right.
And I love talking about that with people, especially when they've just lost someone.
Yeah.
So ironically, I do work with a lot of people, not ironically, but I do work with a lot of people walking through grief and loss
Yeah.
and talking about, beautiful signs and ways that their, loved one is still around and can communicate with them if they choose to receive. So thanks for saying that about the
Yeah.
smell, the olfactory, because that really resonated with me big
Yeah.
time.
Well, I'm glad. Good. We're going to move into gene keys is our last thing that we're going to look at. So there's lots of different gene keys that we have, and we're not going to go through all of them. I just kind of pick what I think is important to talk about today. Um, so we're going to start by talking about gene key 41. So gene key 41 is the energy of new beginnings, imagination, and emotional evolution. Okay, if we had to give it an archetype name, we'd call it the patient dreamer.
Mm.
So I really kind of meditate on archetype names because there could be several for this like energy and not everyone will resonate with it. But I was like, okay, we're talking about Rosie and the patient dreamer. I was just like, I think that's a good one. So you have this key 3 times.
Okay.
Okay. So we're going to talk about what 3 places you have in your gene key chart, but you have it 3. So what does that mean? Anytime you have a repeating energy, just means that it's a major soul theme. So again, it's just a concentrated energy of the patient dreamer. So in gene keys we have these 3 words. That's just describing the frequency of the key. So in key 41, the lower frequency we call the shadow is fantasy. And then we have the gift in the middle, which is anticipation. So that's where we want to be in our life is in the gift. And then the most evolved state, so the highest frequency is emanation. That's what we're shooting to evolve to, right? Is this emanation. So that just kind of describes the energy. So when you're doing gene keys, people contemplate on these words, and it's really a word can mean something different to someone else, right? So Gene Keys has their description for the words. Sometimes I tell people to find their own words that kind of describe the same type of energy. But we'll look at the shadow of fantasy. So, fantasy becomes unhealthy when we escape the present moment, trying to imagine the future.
Oh.
Okay. So, at any point in your life, if you have those moments, I can even
Uh-huh.
say I've probably had those moments. You're living more in this fantasy, which is considered the lower frequency. Not bad. It's just
Uh-huh.
saying you're not quite in alignment. You don't really want to stay here.
Uh-huh.
What are we learning? And so when you're in that shadow, idealizing people or experiences could be happening.
Uh-huh.
You're constantly searching for the next answer, living more in the possibilities versus in the reality of
Uh,
things, spiritual bypassing or emotional escapism. So if you're feeling any of those things could be in the shadow. And then the gift, this anticipation, trusting what is emerging without forcing it.
uh-huh.
So trusting what's emerging without forcing it. So when you're in this energy, when you're in the gift, you feel these people sense the future possibilities before others do. They inspire transformation and new cycles. They bring visionary ideas to the world and they help others imagine a new reality. And so when you're in your gift, that's kind of what you would be doing. And
Uh,
then the highest form, this emanation, is instead of chasing experiences, your presence itself becomes the transmission.
uh,
So alignment replaces striving.
uh,
Striving is out. You're being, you're present, and you're
uh-huh.
emanating. Woo, emanating it.
Oh, I wrote that.
So I feel that a lot with you. And I think that's why, an expert humanitarian and the patient dreamer describes you for me, describes you. And I see this and not, and knowing you, a lot. And so you have it in 3 places. You have it so this is your life's work. So that's 70% of your energy because it's your sun sign, your life's work. Your purpose is tied to initiating new possibilities and helping others expand emotionally or spiritually.
Yes. Spot on.
life's work.
Yeah.
And it's also in your culture key. So, in the culture key, you would thrive in communities that are visionary, authentic, and growth oriented. Sure, you feel that. You
Yeah.
naturally influence the emotional tone of groups and collective spaces. So, you probably enjoy being in groups and collective spaces, and you naturally just are able to influence them because of this key. And your lesson is learning to ground vision into reality.
Mm.
Right? Here's the vision, grounding it into reality, right? So that's in the culture.
Yeah, working on that.
Working on that. So that's, yeah, work in progress. But the third place that you have it, so again, so cool when we see keys multiple times in someone's chart. You have it in the IQ, which is our intelligent quotient. So it's our mental body.
Mhm.
And this is imprinted in us ages 14 to 21. So as I'm just describing this, just think of your life from 14 to 21 years old.
Mhm.
Okay. And so this key 41 in your IQ would mean your mind is highly imaginative, intuitive, and future oriented. You may naturally think symbolically or creatively, and growth comes through staying present instead of becoming lost in imagined futures.
Huh.
So again, we're kind of saying the same thing for each one. I mean, right? Because it's the same energy. Now we're talking about it was imprinted in this, we have all these 7-year cycles. So 14 to 21 years old. And so somewhere in there, I'm assuming that you discovered this or you're awakened to, um, yeah, this more in your life.
Yeah, I have to think. I have to reflect back because
And
it's hard.
it's your mental body. So it's not it wasn't your emotional, wasn't the physical body. It was very mentally, you mentally thought
Mhm.
all these things. So growth comes through staying present instead of becoming lost in imagined futures. So at any point, do you remember being a little bit more in reality? Like not that's why it says the patient dreamer. So it's not that you're not dreaming, but
Mhm.
you're patient because reality has a flow to it
Yes.
and you can't force it. That's what I'm thinking.
I mean, college, and changing, you know, changing my
Everything.
course of study. First I was over here and, I thought I was pre-dental and then
Oh,
I was writing for the newspaper and I loved it. So I switched to journalism, which ironically, so that was like recognizing, what I was good at and changing course. And ironically now, with the documentary I'm creating, the
your
journalism.
journalism skills are coming to the forefront.
Yes, I love interviewing people. I love connecting with people, learning more about people, so I can, bring that skill forth. And then when I work with clients, I also do what's called intuitive writing. So if a notion comes in, I will, I, an intuitive hit, I will write what has come in and then, with some clients, it may be a couple paragraphs, or some it might be, 6 pages of what's coming in. So, yeah,
So
I
like
guess.
mentally just yeah, knowing
Mhm.
more of what you want to do at that probably age was coming in,
Mhm.
which that can be happening for all of us at that age.
Mhm.
But some of these keys are so specific that some people are just like, "Oh yeah, like that, I can see that this." So just because it was imprinted doesn't mean the awareness was there either,
Mm.
right? It just means at those ages imprinted. So maybe you had some because it's a mental, like had some thoughts had come in at that time, but then maybe
Okay.
things weren't implemented till later, like you were doing like the work that you're doing now,
Mhm.
even though journalism, like you said, has come back to be part of what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah. And then we're going to look at your purpose key. So we can't do our life's work without knowing our purpose. And purpose, you have key 27. So your purpose points to a life path that is centered around nourishment, care, and sustainable devotion.
Huh.
So the energy of this key is, so the shadow would be selfishness,
Okay.
the gift would be altruism, and then the highest form, the city, high frequency energy is selflessness.
Okay.
Okay, so if you're in the shadow of this key, overgiving, trying to rescue others, burnout, neglecting your own needs,
Mm,
withholding care from others because you feel so depleted. It is, and so we'll bring up the Catholic thing because I grew up Catholic too. And so that's giving and serving is self, right?
uh-huh.
Using the word selfishness, but that's not what the word that Catholic that would say. You're serving, you're being selfless, you're being humble, you're right. You're doing this all this for other people,
But we can't pour from an empty cup.
but you can't pour from an empty cup. So
Mhm.
I really resonate. I don't have this key, but I'm reading it and I was like, mm-hmm, right. And that was
Right.
very ingrained in me that I had to decondition out of me is I'm going to be a better person. I'm going to be a better mother. I'm going to do better things in the world if I take care of myself.
Mhm. Yeah.
And then learning the balance of that. Now,
Right.
you can't go crazy on yourself and forget about the world and forget everybody else. Like that's a little bit different. But yeah, if you're over giving, you feel burnt out, all these things, then you're not in alignment and
Right.
your body, your mind, everything is telling you, nope.
Mhm. Yeah, it is absolutely all about balance and finding ways to take care of yourself and honor yourself, and which not overgiving, not going beyond, pushing past your threshold all the time so you are burnt out, or neglecting the needs of your own family, for others. There's
Right.
some humanitarians who do they care more about their image than the work. And
Right.
so that's not okay. That's going to come back and bite them. And so, yes, balance and knowing, finding your sweet spot and really going there. Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. So then if we're in the gift of this key, this altruism, compassionate, sustainable care that uplifts others without self sacrifice,
Mhm.
what we're just saying. Um, and then the highest expression of this energy is this selflessness. And so that's really unconditional love expressed through presence, service, and deep trust in life.
Mm. Yeah, I'd say that's very,
Yeah.
very
That that equals Jesus. Like, I'm
wow.
just talking about energy. So if we're talking about, any spiritual master, if we, you don't wanna specifically, talk about Jesus, but or Yeshua is really his name that,
Mhm.
um, which people call him Jesus, but,
Yes.
um, you know, yes, selflessness, that's how I look at him, the unconditional love, and that's the energy of his
Mhm.
Christ consciousness is another word people use.
Absolutely. Definitely.
That's always our goal, right? And maybe there's moments where you actually are in that highest form. I do believe that happens here on earth, but
Yes.
we always, I think, kinda come down from it, and we just always strive towards it.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. It's a beautiful place to be. And of course, I'm human and it's not all the time, but yeah, definitely touching that at moments. And it's really incredible to show someone unconditional love through service and
Yeah,
that we don't want anything from them. We are here simply to show up and support and get them to really find themselves again and tap into their own gifts and preferences and learning how to trust themselves, and especially people who are survivors of exploitation, that they're worthy, that they're born worthy. And
yeah,
yes, these some really terrible things came into their life, and that we can walk alongside them, help them metabolize those experiences. And then I've worked with some incredible survivor leaders who have really alchemized their experiences and are doing so well that they're helping others. And those are some of the most impressive people I have come
Yep.
across in this lifetime.
Wow. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's one thing to do the work, but it's also when you see the work or what the impacts or how, yeah, someone else is doing what they're supposed to be doing in the world, and you just are just like, that's what the moment where I just feel like I want to put my hand on my heart, and I'm just like, yep, there we go. And it's such a great feeling.
It's incredible to witness that for sure. I love it.
Yeah, so that energy of that key is your purpose. So when you're in that purpose, in that frequency of energy, you're doing your life's work fine. You're able to do it. And so um
I
and
think that
I see this already with you, obviously. You're very aligned in a lot of ways. And we're human, as you said too. Like,
Mhm.
so sometimes we got,
Yeah,
all this is telling us is like you're getting out of alignment, you're getting out of balance, you better come back. And sometimes we go way then over here, and this,
right.
so it's just coming back,
Yeah, coming back into balance.
come back into balance. So last thing I just want to talk about before we wrap up is you and I share a key. Isn't that fun? I think it's fun when we share a key. Like, what key is it? So it's this key 24. So key 24, for you, it's your EQ. So this is your emotional quotient. So it's your emotional body that was imprinted from 7 to 14 years old.
Okay.
And for me, it's my evolution. And so my evolution is what I'm here to learn. So I
Okay.
feel like you're teaching me. This is already imprinted in you. So you're probably teaching me this. So a lot of people are teaching me, but like you're one example. And so the frequencies and energy of this key is addiction would be the shadow, invention is the gift, and then the highest frequency is called silence.
Mm.
Okay.
Oh.
So I'll just kind of quick explain both or all of them. So shadow of addiction can become trapped in repetitive mental loops.
Huh.
So overthinking, obsessing, trying to figure everything out,
Mhm.
guilty here, guilty, guilty, guilty. I mean, that's very much my stress pattern.
Okay.
It's mental loop that does this. This energy of returning to the same thought again and again, often searching for meaning, control, or resolution. So I'm very familiar with this shadow. And it's interesting that they were use the word addiction. So I could go on a whole thing about like research on like addiction to substances and other things, like
Mhm.
what that energy represents.
Mhm.
And then to me, it's 100% control.
Okay.
So I read a fascinating book about this woman that brings in the word codependency, addiction, and then this word control. And I was just like, oh boy, I didn't realize that when I'm in a stress state, I get, yeah, in this shadow of addiction. And it's just like trying to control things that
Okay.
I can't control. And
Mhm.
so I resonate really deeply with that one. The gift is invention. So this is the ability to synthesize insight in entirely new ways. So when the mind starts to relax, it's not trying to control everything. Instead of forcing the answers, the profound creativity and innovation emerges. So you become super innovative. People often have unique perspectives and the ability to connect ideas that others cannot see. So that's a fun gift.
Mhm. Yeah.
And the highest form of this is silence. So a deep inner stillness beyond the mental noise. So as you and I both know, true wisdom comes not through constant thinking, but through spacious awareness and trust in the unknown. So,
Mhm.
and being silent and slowing down. And this is a big, like when you read about this key and how it affects like the world a lot is just in the mind, you know? And it's like time to get back into the body. This is a good way to end our podcast. Like,
Yeah.
you need to get back in the body, people,
Right.
because these mental loops, this anxiety, which becomes this, I can't sit still, I'm crawling out of my skin, like this
Mm.
feeling that I don't know what this is, but I need. That's why people take so much medication and why they abuse other substances. Like, I get it. And so learning to be silent and be in your body and just be quiet and be silent is the biggest gift and thing I've had to learn. And some people would probably sound really easy. I meditate, I do that all the time, whatever. But for me, I was like, I had to learn that. It took a
Mm,
while.
me too.
So, so yes, so that's what I'm here to learn. And you have that imprinted. And so again, maybe you still had a kind of, you're still seeing the shadow and the gift and all that throughout your life. But the ability to probably help others and teach others is that you have that ingrained in you a little bit more. So that's kind of,
Yeah.
I wanted to point that out at the end that we have that, and I appreciate our connection and whether it's the work we do in the world or just as friends. And I love my Aquarian friends, my weirdo friends. We get to end it. That's a good way to end, isn't it?
Well, thank you. You're a wealth of information. I always learn so much just having conversations with you. So
And
thank you so much.
same goes the other way with you. And I just really appreciate you being here today with me and doing this. And I love the work you're doing in the world. Everything we talked about today is showing that you're aligned and you're doing that. And so keep moving forward. And I will
Thanks,
keep moving
Jennifer.
forward. And you watching this can also move forward and do what you're supposed to do in the world too. So thanks so much, Rosie.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Until next time.
Okay.
Bye. Thank you for being here and witnessing the architecture of the soul. If this conversation resonated, I invite you to explore your own energetic design and the path that's uniquely yours. You can connect with me, learn more about my work, or book a session through alignsoulwellness.com. And if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow, share, or leave a review. It helps this work reach those who are ready for it. Until next time, trust the architecture of your soul.